Buckle up. It's the Insurance Dudes Podcast.
So coming into this business from the corporate world, what was the biggest challenge? Because that's a big agency to...
I worked here for 12 and a half years before I took it over. So
okay.
When I came in, I was green. My background, my degree is in finance. It's funny. I actually wanted to be an attorney growing up, and then went to college and realized what law school actually entails. And I didn't have that kind of gumption. So I got a degree in finance and business administration as a financial planner for about 6 weeks out of college. And I learned very quickly when I was first working there, the guy in our orientation class said 95% of you are not going to make it out in the first year. And he was right, because financial planners, you start, especially out of college, hey dad, you've been working for 40 years. Let me handle your retirement money. That's how you start a business. You don't know anybody. Right. You talk about pressure. Forget it. I learned very quickly it wasn't for me, but I always liked the sales. I always liked people, talking to people. So I got in with Frito-Lay and started doing route sales for them. So I had, 15 or 20 grocery stores on my route, and got to know the store managers and things. But, it's just relationships. That's all it is. If you're good with people and you genuinely enjoy people and talking, you're going to be successful in this business. You just keep your head down and do it over and over and over again. It's repetition.
Yeah. Is your dad involved now?
Only from a business standpoint, from a 10,000 foot view looking down, he and I have business meetings on how to grow and how to move the business. But as far as a day-to-day, he doesn't come in and really talk to the staff anymore. And, I'll call him in every now and then in our sales meetings and stuff. And he'll throw a trick or two that worked in 1989, out that we could try and bring back, but by and large, he's removed from the day-to-day side of things.
Just have him sit over off to the side and work the microfiche.
Yeah, right. That's right.
He knows how to do that.
He's told stories about, back in the day of actually having to hand rate auto policies. They didn't have computers when he first started. He was actually in the booth at Sears back in the day, and they would actually hand rate auto policies.
It's remarkable.
Somebody wouldn't disclose a speeding ticket or something, and you rate it by hand, and then they find it after the fact, and then the rate goes up, and you got to go and explain those. It's not like it is today with the touch of a button. Everything right? About everywhere.
It was so slow. There's a woman here in Tucson that owns a Hawaiian restaurant, and we got I had one of my shirts on. So she said, right. I used to work for an Allstate agent in Hawaii, and back in the early 80s. And she said, so there was that. They were hand rating it, but then they also had to ship the paperwork from Hawaii to Chicago, right? So think of the lag time before the underwriters even look at it, and then they would have a problem with it, send it back. And it would take weeks for a policy to issue. And, you're making $8 a year off it. It's just great. I mean, and now here we are, at the red light. There's some people.
Here we are sitting in Florida and Arizona having a conversation, right?
Right. It's
technology.
Amazing.
It is crazy. So what do you find right now? What's your biggest challenge in the agency?
Managing staff, just like everybody else. Managing staff.
How many staff do you have?
I've got 11, counting myself.
Cool. So, and are you guys departmentalized?
We are. Yeah, I've got two retention, 2 young ladies who work on retention. Their job is to call clients all day, every day. I've got one administrative assistant and a second who's kind of floats between those two departments, and then everybody else is sales. You know, the administrative people, they do all the endorsements and mortgage changes and those type thing, check the mail, you know, do all of that stuff. And then I've got everybody else is in sales, trying to grow it. Kind of the jack of all trades. You know, I try and keep myself to the quote unquote difficult clients, or the more intense clients. We have, you know, who has the auto, home, personal umbrella, boat, and maybe some life insurance with us. You know, if you've got a seasonal condo down here, probably not going to talk to me. You know, so that's how we just kind of departmentalize it a little bit. So, I mean, I say that to, you know, if they want to talk to me, they can talk to me, but everybody's kind of my gatekeeper in that, because if you can get lagged up in a hurry.
Yeah, you can definitely get bogged down.
So, yeah.
Rabbit holes.
Right.
Old rabbit holes.
Yeah, some little thing that starts off with "Do you have a minute?" can end up where now you have to call RNBC
or an afternoon, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And they just bought a new car and they need to change out a car. Yeah.
No, I'm going to get you over here. I know that she's going to do a much better job helping you on that. So
yeah, and you know, like everybody else, you have some of those clients who they only want to talk to Dan, and that's fine. You know, I've got one lady who just refuses to give her credit card to anybody else in the office but me, and that's fine. She's 82 years old too, so you can give a little grace where grace is due. So
we always promise the listeners that they're going to get some juicy tidbits. I think that from a marketing or new business acquisition standpoint, and obviously you have a lot of different lines in the lake here.
Yeah.
So having what's her name?
The marketing lady, Dana.
Yeah. So you have Dana going around to the 150 or so loan officers handing out Snickers.
Yeah.
And then there's got to be some other significant.
Yeah, we do a lot of direct mails, direct campaigns. I'll buy internet leads periodically. You know, my opinion on internet leads is you don't buy them to sell. I know Craig, you and I talked about that a little bit a couple of weeks ago when we were talking. I don't buy them with the intention of selling them the day we get them. I buy them for the cross date. Because an internet lead, you know, typically you call them and you're the seventh person that's called them, and they're talking about their car insurance that day. But 6 months later, you know, they're ready to talk. So you buy their name and number is what you're buying out of that. So we'll do that periodically. I don't do that. You know, on a consistent basis. I'll buy them for maybe 3 months a year, and then keep working the cross dates, because you know, all this is, if you want to grow, it's opportunity. You know, the more people you talk to, the more policies you're going to sell, and trying to keep that pipeline full.
What's your number one advice that you'd offer any new agent that's starting out?
Just stick with it. You know, it'll all work out. People give up too easily on things, and, you know, in my experience, and you know, it's not always going to be good months. It's not always going to be, you know, I go home at night and, you know, beat my head against the wall, use my sounding board. Not every day is a great day. It's just not, you know, but specifically for the agency owners out there, you know, number one advice I'd give you is don't let your staff see you having a bad day. Keep that stuff for home. You know, never, there are things that Allstate does as a company that makes me want to, you know, it just doesn't make any sense, but you'll never hear me badmouth Allstate to my staff. You know, that's who I work for. You know, that's my number one company that I represent, and I believe in their product. Do they do everything perfectly? Nope. Neither does State Farm, neither does USAA, neither does, you know, anybody. But you'll never hear me say a detrimental word to my staff. My wife, that's a different, behind closed doors, that's different story, and then you get it out and you move on, you come back the next day, and things always get better the next day.
Yep. If you had to do it all over again, from when you started with Allstate, what's the one thing you would do differently?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think I did. First of all, I'm blessed. I walked into a pretty good situation. I'm married the right girl. And from a business standpoint, not from a personal standpoint and from a business standpoint. So I walked in and I was trained by someone with a world of experience. So I can't speak to the guys out there who are starting scratch right now, who don't have any experience in the insurance world. That's foreign to me. There's not a lot that I would do different. I just be a sponge, learn it, and learn coverage, learn what makes you different from everybody else. Even the other Allstate agents, I tell my staff, I don't see the State Farm guys in town as my competition. I see the other Allstate guys as my competition. What makes me different? State Farm guys sell another product. I can't control what State Farm guys sell. That's all their business. I can't compete against that. It's my product versus their product. But the Allstate guy down the street sells the exact same thing that I can get an offer. Why should they take me over him or her, as the case may be? So that's kind of the forefront of my mind all the time.
That makes sense. So it sounds like the two nuggets you kind of gave as advice is perseverance, just stick with it, right? And then the relationships.
Yeah,
it's kind of been a common thread.
Absolutely, and everything else will take care of itself. It will all fall into place.
I like it.
It really will. So
cool. What's your if you went to go grab fast food around there, what's your favorite place?
I there's a McDonald's right by the office, and I haven't been there outside of their coffee. Their coffee is abnormally good. I don't get McDonald's food as in general is just awful, but their coffee in the morning, it's legit. There's a Subway here I go to a lot. There's a Taco Bell down the street that I've hit up a couple of times, but that's about it. Close to us anyway.
Awesome. What's the transition from where you were going to Florida? What's it culturally? It took me about a year to really like it. It was not a hard decision. When we first started talking about it, I didn't want to do it the same year we got married, and switch careers and move across the country and do all of it all at one time. That's a lot.
I had at the time I was a district manager. So I had like 9 guys who ran routes for Frito-Lay underneath me. And one guy called me at like 10 o'clock at night. He was on his way to the hospital, so he couldn't run his route. And he left the depot at like 2:30 in the morning to get his route was like an hour away from the depot. And, so who are you going to call to run a route on, 4 hours sleep? So I just said, I'll do it, And so I went home, slept for like 3.5 hours, got up. First thing I said when I turned the truck on in the morning was it was 7 degrees outside. And that was the day I decided we were going to Florida. Because we were planning on going, we were planning on getting and working for another year and then making the move like in 2007. And I just said, what are we doing here? Like, let's just do it. Rip the Band-Aid off and go. And, 7 degrees, they can, that's one of the things I don't miss about Indianapolis.
Yeah. That's brutal.
It's awful. It's awful. I do miss the city, being able to go downtown on a Sunday morning and try and get Colts tickets. And if you don't, you just go across the street to the sports bar and watch the Colts game with, 150 of your closest friends. That kind of stuff. Where I am, I'm like 2 hours from and 2 hours from Miami. So if you want to do something, in the city, you got to plan to do it. So I missed that little bit of that little bit of it, but I wouldn't go back. Certainly not in January.
Right. I would take the humidity over that. That's just, brutal.
Yeah, it's brutal.
We have the weather trifecta represented on this call: Arizona, California, Florida. I mean,
Right.
Everybody else is envious of us.
That's funny.
Well, cool. Anything else that you can think? I know we sort of touched on advice for new agents or anybody buying an agency. How about that? How about somebody who's buying an agency? Those fundamentals that you bring up, I think, are so important.
Yeah, I just know the book. Do your due diligence. If you're buying a book, know the book and know the staff. Look at those loss ratio numbers and those retention numbers and all of those things, because when you buy a book, there's going to be a little bit of attrition. I mean, I took over from my father-in-law, and there's been a little bit of attrition because everybody wanted to talk to Steve. Well, Steve's retired. Well, I'm leaving. Well, I'm Steve's son-in-law, so I'm still talking to the family. I don't know. I want to talk to Steve. You're going to get those. You're going to get those people. So if you've got somebody who's a book of business who's retaining at 70%, you can expect it to go to 60. That's not a good deal. So do your due diligence before you make that purchase.
Awesome, Dan. Well, hey, we really, really appreciate your time. We're here. We're right at we went a little tiny bit over, but thank you so much.
You bet.
Really, yeah, thanks.
My pleasure. Appreciate it, guys.
Hey, Jason.
Yes, Mr. Craig.
That was another awesome episode, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if people want to get a little bit more action and learn how to write 100,000 in premium
Yes.
off of even the worst internet leads, where could they go?
They can go to live.teledudes.com.
Ooh, that sounds exciting. Are we going to be there?
Yes, it's a weekly call that we're doing right now it's live, and it will show you the process. The entire process is super awesome.
I love it. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Sign up right now, live.teledudes.com.
live.teledudes.com. That's live.teledudes.com.
Hey, Craig, there's a new community that we are starting that I cannot wait to tell everybody about. It is our live texting community where you and I are going to answer people's questions and give them free content, right?
Are you kidding me? We get to talk to them?
Yeah, which is awesome, but they have to opt in. They have to text us at 520-214-2219. That's 520-214-2219.
Nice.
Craig, are you going to respond to these texts?
I'm going to respond to them for sure. Live.
I'm into it too. It's going to be awesome. And it's going to be our new texting community where we're going to get back to everybody that we can and drop some crazy content, free content, and free the calculator that you just came up with. That's right. The calling calculator, sales material. I mean, everything for insurance agents. This is it. It's the best texting community out there for insurance agents.
Well, what the heck is that number again? I can't remember it.
It's 520-214-2219. That's 520-214-2219.
I love it. I'm going to text it right now.
520-214-2219.
All right. I'll see you later, Mr. Jason.
Bye, Mr. Craig.
Hey, do they even listen to this on the radio anymore?
I love it. I love it.
Nice.
All right.